Okay, so one of the other big topics that I put up was again thanks to Taylor last week's live stream. You guys, some of you know him as BT Hawks on Twitter. Um, was Is Philip Rivers Hall of Fame worthy? So I decided to do a little research this week, and so I kind of put something together. I know a few people on Twitter were vocal about this when I put up the when I put up the poll. A few people responded instead of just clicking the button. They answered, and that's fine. Yeah, I like the chat. I like the banter that goes back and forth with it. So what I did here was we've got a little Philip Rivers informational uh, blurb, we'll call it. Okay, here was the poll that I put up. I did this the other day, and so far, with a day left on it, we have 205 votes on it. And uh, basically, what I did was I kind of front loaded. I'm not going to lie, I kind of front loaded this question. Only 38.5% of the 205 votes actually said he's not Hall of Fame worthy. I want you to keep that in mind. 61.4% said that he is Hall of Fame worthy, whether or not first or not ballot. So take that with a grain of salt. That only less than 40% said that no, he is not Hall of Fame worthy. So 31 believe 100% yes, first ballot, no question, good to go, let's do it. And then the other 30%, yes, he's a Hall of Famer, no, he will not get in on first ballot. So interesting results so far. And like I said, if you haven't voted on that, go vote. We still have a day left on that poll. All right, so here's a little history lesson for you on Philip Rivers. In case you don't know that much about Philip Rivers, I probably know more than I really need to, but a lot of that goes for me being a Steelers fan. He was drafted the same year as Ben Roethlisberger. So history lesson for you. He was drafted number 4 overall in 2004 out of NC State. Technically, he was drafted by the New York Giants, but for the sake of this, he was drafted by the Chargers. If you're unfamiliar with the whole thing, Eli went number 1 overall to the Chargers, and he threw such a fit about it because he didn't want to be a Charger, and Archie got involved as well, and he wanted to go to New York, and so New York and San Diego at the time swapped picks down the road, and they swapped their quarterbacks. The Chargers technically drafted Eli Manning, and then after the pick they swapped them, and all was good. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that he actually was drafted as the backup to Drew Brees. And Drew Brees was only 4 years into his career as a Charger. Drew Brees was a 2000 draft pick, and so he was drafted number 4 overall, technically number 1 overall. He was drafted number 4 overall to back up Drew Brees. So it's kind of interesting when you see a guy like Drew Brees. Now, again, Drew Brees was only 4 years into his career. I don't believe that the Chargers anticipated him being such a good and dynamic quarterback. So Philip Rivers ended up coming into, I would almost call it a no-win situation, because he wasn't going to be seeing the field anytime soon right out the gate. So he did not get his first start until 2006. Now, the end of the 2005 season, Drew Brees thrashed his shoulder up at the end of the season and needed rotator cuff surgery. And so they ended up not re-signing Philip Rivers, whose contract had just run out, and let him walk. Now, was it a good fit for him to leave? He could have done well, but they already had Philip Rivers in the waiting, so why sign him again and then have to worry about trading him? So yes, Jesus, that's actually what I was just getting into. So they let him walk. Drew Brees goes on to New Orleans, signs his contract, ends up doing very well over there, obviously, as we all know. And Philip Rivers gets his first start to start the 2006 season, and ends up taking the Chargers to the AFC Championship game. Ends up 14-2 in his first season. So, a lot of people don't, they dog on him because he hasn't won a championship, and they had their drought with playoff wins and all this kind of stuff. But when it boils down to it, Rivers actually had some playoff wins. Everybody just overlooks it because they never made it to the Super Bowl. So he started every game for the Chargers at quarterback from 2006 to 2019. So 224 consecutive starts. So he's an Iron Man, definitely. Never got hurt or never had an injury that kept him out of a game. This past offseason, signed with the Colts. He's already 4 starts so far at 3-1. And his career win-loss record is 126 to 102 losses. So he's sitting above 50% on the win-loss margin. The big guns from the 2004 draft class. So Philip Rivers. So here's some stats for Philip Rivers. As I mentioned, 126 and 102 record. Started 228 total games in his career thus far. And I'm going to try to catch... I'm going to try to catch some of these messages in here as well. Hey, Zeus, Rivers just overlooked because Big Ben, Brady, and Manning dominated his prime years. Absolutely. Passing yards, 60,225 passing yards. Right now he's sitting 6th in the NFL, in NFL history, and he's active still. So he could, I don't remember what the next player above him is, but he could end up still gaining ground on that. Career pass completion percentage of 64.8, which is good enough for 10th all-time. Passing touchdowns, 401, which is good for 6th all-time. He's thrown 201 interceptions, which definitely keeps him out of the top 10 for most interceptions, or top 20 even. Pro Bowl selections, he's been selected to 8 Pro Bowls. He's got a playoff record of 5-6, and he's put together 32 game-winning drives in his career. Eli Manning, 117 and 117. So he's a 50% quarterback. Could he play another season? Sure, but they had Daniel Jones and they weren't going to start him. So he retired at before the Giants could destroy his record anymore, and he retired at a 500 quarterback. Games started 234, so just a hair more than Philip Rivers, and a lot of that comes to the fact that Eli Manning started a season earlier than Philip Rivers, actually a season and a half earlier, because Eli Manning was drafted when they had, was it Bledsoe or was it Warner at the time? I don't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, game started 234. Passing yards, 57,023 passing yards. Good enough for 8th all-time. Pass completion career, 60.3. Passing touchdowns, 366 passing touchdowns. Good enough for 9th all-time. He's thrown 244 interceptions, which is the 12th most by any quarterback in NFL history. 4 Pro Bowl selections. Playoff record of 8-4. And has led 37 game-winning drives. Now you'll see the asterisk right there with the playoff record of 8-4, and if you look at the bottom, right there, the asterisk, he did win 2 Super Bowl championships. Absolutely, I will never take that away from Philip Rivers. Winning 2 Super Bowls is something that a lot of quarterbacks never get to do. I mean, shit, most of them can't win 1. Compared to the other quarterback from that draft class, Ben Roethlisberger, win-loss record of 147, 71, and 1, so substantially higher. Game started 219. A lot of that comes down to injury. He'd missed some time early on in his career, had a nice stint in the middle there where he was healthy, and then missed most of last season as well. Passing yards, 57,322 passing yards. Good enough for 7th all-time. Pass completion percentage of 64.4. He's tied for 12th. passing touchdowns, 370, puts him 8th all-time. Interceptions, 192, and that's the one that shocks me the most out of that. I thought Ben had thrown more interceptions than that, but 192 also keeps him out of the top 20. Been selected to 6 Pro Bowls. He's got a 13-8 playoff record, and he's led 43 game-winning drives. So you could say that between the three of them, Ben has the clutch gene. It's hard to argue that. Now, the asterisk there, playoff record of 13-8. He is a 2-time Super Bowl champion and has been to one more when they lost to the Green Bay Packers. So, with all this being said, when you compare the 3 quarterbacks from that draft class, it's hard to argue that the 3 quarterbacks are not Hall of Fame worthy. Just from what I see, just from the stats alone, you have 3 quarterbacks who literally have filled up from that draft class. 3 quarterbacks who have filled up the all-time records, the all-time charts. So to deny Philip Rivers entirely, no, I don't think you can. To say he's a first ballot without being a Super Bowl contender or without being in a Super Bowl, maybe not a first ballot. Is he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely, 100%. Hard to deny. When he's got some better stats than 2 guys who are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, just minus a Super Bowl, it's kind of hard to say he can't be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Now, granted, yes, Dan Marino did go to a Super Bowl, but he didn't win a Super Bowl. But it's hard for me to say that Philip Rivers can't be a Hall of Famer in this. So, anyway.